Mideast crisis. How to derail the train that's on a fast track to war. Hello, my name is Elmore Richmond Jr. My name is not important in this communication. Of course, I'm not known throughout the land for great accomplishments. However, I know that I'm known by a power greater than you and I. God was with me as this message was prepared, and all praises go to God. I'm concerned about the Mideast situation because we're on a fast track to war. This train must be derailed. In order to derail this train, certain factors must be brought to your attention, and certain actions must be taken. I realize, although I'm not known throughout the land, however, when I speak this truth, some will dislike me. Others may even call me a traitor or attempt to kill me. Nevertheless, I'm reminded of something the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said. You must develop the inner convictions that there are some things so dear, some things so precious, and some things are so eternally true that they are worth dying for. I submit to you that what I have to say to you today is so dear, so precious, and so eternally true, I'm prepared to die for this cause. Dr. King also pointed out, if a man hasn't discovered something that he would die for, he's not fit to live. Therefore, I'll be quite candid with my thoughts. Firstly, I must address my concerns about President Bush's involvement in the Persian Gulf crisis. President Bush is busy studying war and has invested little time for reaching a peaceful solution to this crisis. It has been amazing observing President Bush vacillating from his child ego state to his parent ego state throughout this crisis. Unfortunately, other world leaders, for whatever reasons, have yielded to him and allowed President Bush to become the father of the world, or some type of God. Mr. Bush is not God, and he must be told, like God told Ezekiel to tell the prince of Tyre that he was not God. Mr. Bush must be reminded. It is understandable how one can begin to think he's God in his heart. Sometimes it is because of what others think of him, or because of his position, like the President of the United States. However, be reminded that no man can be God. God is, for God is God. It is apparent that President Bush doesn't want a peaceful solution to this crisis. I believe he holds this disposition because of the perceived future threat of Saddam Hussein's military. And now he's hiding behind a United Nations resolution. However, if you carefully evaluate the aspect of the UN resolution, which he has given most of his attention, you will agree that it appears to be an initiative of President Bush. The following questions puzzles me. Who appointed President Bush to enforce the UN resolution? Did the UN appoint him to call all shots? Is Mr. Bush responsible to the people of the United States? Or can he just tell us to read his lips or to read his hips? I disagree with the demeanor of Mr. Bush, because the United States is a democracy, a government by the people and for the people. The president is responsible to us, the people. Since the government of the United States is not a dictatorship, the House and Senate must become more effective and work closely with the president in directing and addressing the affairs of this nation. Let's discontinue this madness. War can't resolve this situation. It would only lead to more destruction. Eventually, we must sit down and talk about it. Let's not kid ourselves. The other countries in the region aren't going to sit back and permit a foreign government to become their sense of security for a prolonged period of time. Mr. Bush, where is your real-world support? The token troops from other countries? Is this your real-world support? Or is it the promise of token financial aid? Mr. Bush, if we engage in war, it will cost billions, and we will lose thousands of lives. In addition, I believe it will take much longer than 5 days, and the aftermath will last for years. I strongly agree with the principles of President Bush in the United Nations that Saddam Hussein must not be rewarded for his aggression. However, I must applaud Saddam Hussein. I applaud him not for his aggression, and I don't applaud him for the last war crimes committed by his troops. However, I must applaud Saddam Hussein because of his resolve, which clearly demonstrates that in this day and time, you just can't bully a great nation will. There must be some meaningful negotiation. Meaningful negotiation should be the trademark of the UN and not war. Thank you, Saddam Hussein, for this lesson to the world. Nevertheless, I don't believe Saddam Hussein was just arbitrarily pulled out of Kuwait. His actions should not be condoned. However, this type of invasion has been the traditional way of gaining new territory. I need not to belabor this point. However, look at the history of the United States, or how England gained Hong Kong through the Opium War, a war which was fought in order to continue the trade of opium to the Chinese, even after the clear opposition of the Chinese government. Saddam Hussein must be reminded, just because aggression has been the traditional way to gain a new territory, it doesn't make it right. If we are truly emerging into a new era of nations working together with stronger pursuit of justice, we must derail this train that's on a fast track to war. If we are truly establishing a new world order in which nations of the world, east and west, north and south, can prosper and live in harmony, we must derail this train. If this proposal is followed, we can derail this train and reach a peaceful solution to the Mideast crisis, a solution that will be pleasing in God's sight. For it is recorded that God has no pleasure in death of the wicked, but his pleasure comes when the wicked turn from his way and live. If, in fact, we are to have a new world order, its foundation should be one that is pleasing in God's sight. We must remember that we can't do anything without God but mess things up. The Lord would lead us to the path of righteousness for His name's sake. On this path of righteousness, we'll find love. Not the type of love that one finds with affection and emotion, but the type of love that the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of, a type of love much deeper than that found with affection and emotion. A type of love that is a sort of understanding, created redemptive goodwill for all men. Yes, we will find this on the pathway of righteousness. On this pathway, we also will find patience. The Quran reminds its believers of the importance of patience in a time of adversity. For the Lord is with those who are patient in adversity. At this junction, I'm reminded of something Jesus said: love your enemies, bless them that curse you, and pray for them that despitefully use you. Yes, we must discover love, patience, and the power of prayer. In addition to these things, the following actions must be taken. The Mideast must awaken to the realization of the false sense of security the West has to offer the region. For the Quran bear witness to the spoils of war. It tells believers to pay heed unto God and His apostles, and do not allow yourself to be at variance with one another's, lest you lose your heart and your moral strength desert you. And be patient in adversity, for verily God is with those who are patient in adversity. The Quran also instructs believers to be not like those unbelievers who went forth from their homelands full of self-conceit and a desire to be seen and praised by men, for they were trying to turn others away from the path of God. In addition, the Quran reminds believers how Satan made all their doing seem good to them, and said, no one can overcome you this day, for behold, I should be your protector. Nevertheless, when the two hosts came within sight of one another, he turned on his heels and said, behold, I'm not responsible for you. Likewise, the West can't be the Mideast protector. I say to you today, as it is recorded in the Quran, he who places his trust in God knows that, verily, God is almighty wise. God is your true protector. After this awareness, King Fahd of Saudi Arabia must order all foreign troops to leave his country, to include a massive buildup of the U.S. troops. When this occurs, it will pave the way for real negotiation in the region. Likewise, President Saddam Hussein must order his troops to leave Kuwait. This is the measure it will take to show that President Saddam Hussein also wants peace within the region. as the foreign troops put out of Saudi Arabia, President Saddam Hussein must put his troops out of Kuwait. President Saddam Hussein must find peace with God. This peace will come once he asks for forgiveness and offer to assist in restoring Kuwait. Next, the restoration of the Kuwaiti ruling family must become a reality. Once law and order is restored in Kuwait by the ruling family, Iraq and Kuwait leadership must readdress the disputed territory and resolve this issue peacefully. The leadership of the region must work together to establish a strong network of togetherness in the spirit of love and respect. The United Nations must work with the region and address the issues pertaining to the PLO homeland. Meaningful negotiation must become the trademark of the United Nations and not war. The UN must take actions to ensure that the UN is never used as a launching pad for war. Moreover, the United States government must focus on the things that made this country great. A government for the people and by the people. We must continue to be involved in world affairs. However, we must take a new look at our priorities. As we reprioritize, let's make sure our internal affairs are on top of the list, such as the homeless problem, equal opportunity in treatment, the budget deficit, unemployment, the quality of education, drug abuse, the balance of trade, crime, the quality of life, gang violence, race relation, environmental concerns, AIDS, and the future of this great country. If we are to remain a great nation, we must take care of our own. With this resolve, we will truly set the stage and will not be seen as bullies or hypocrites, but as leaders. Let's not lose sight of this fact. Ineffective leadership is the catalyst of the downfall of great nations in the past. Once we begin to take care of our own, we will discover that we can master our deficit problem by addressing our internal affairs. At this point, we will find that all of our problems are interrelated. Once this is accomplished, we will be a true leader of the world, a nation obtaining the second-to-none status, a nation that will be pleasing to God, the Almighty. I say again, let's come together and regain our focus and attack these difficult days with the resolve that we will overcome and pave the way to a great future. Follow these instructions and let's resolve the Mideast crisis peacefully. America, let's redirect our energy and become a greater nation, one that all Americans can proudly stand and sing together. I too sing America, for I too sing America. May God bless this land and goodwill to all mankind.
All this grime